Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's that time of day again. What time? Well, it's the Kev Baker show time, of course. And today it is a show with a difference. Yes, indeedy. And it indeed is a show with a difference today. Because today we are going in to the virtual world. You know, during my time in the army, I was in communications, satellite communications to be precise. We done Morse code, we done VHF, HF, things I can tell you, things I can't tell you. We'd crypto here, crypto there. And at one point, I was establishing communications from Norway all the way back to Boddington in the UK via an entirely new system that I was trying out for Boeing at the time. Yeah, I know, working with that military industrial complex at one
Look
point.
at that,
I
Kev.
know, but
Look at
I was
that.
quite proud to say, Scott, that it only took me 3 days and with the help of one Royal Engineer or Royal Signals technician by my side to establish Z by Z5 comms. They were clear as day. And for the 3 months that followed, day after day, radio check after radio check, all went well. I came back with a letter of commendation from the Royal Marines because we'd got it so successfully established, and that was a little feather in my beret. And in the build up to today's show, I'm thinking, you know, I've done this kind of thing before. A one off, a first, shall you say. And today it's going to be communications between this world and the next world. Now, not the next world as in Ouija boards and seances and things like that, although at this point I think that might actually work a bit better. Today we're going to try, to establish communications with the virtual world. Only we have one problem. My end is working perfectly fine right now, and we seem to have an issue with the virtual realm. But don't fear, ladies and gentlemen, because that virtual avatar, it's near. Didn't mean to rhyme that, but it worked and it killed a bit of time, and hopefully, just hopefully. And I have just had my first communication from the virtual realm. We will be going live to our friend Spooky Andy, who will be coming to us from virtual reality very, very soon. He's on his way home right now from work. He's rushing home to get his side of things established. And Scott, I'm just saying, and Scott. I've got Scott Lopez here with me as well, folks. And Scott, you were there the other night after the stream with Popeye. When we tried this the first time, we tried to establish this communication link. Now, unfortunately, because it was getting very, very late over here in the UK, in fact, it had crossed the threshold of late into very, very early the next morning. And me having FIFA to play to requalify for next weekend's tournament, I had to cut the call short. But you, my friend, you were there with Andy. You helped get everything set up. You then sent me a video of what to expect tonight. And Scott, without giving too much away, I mean, tell the listeners what you've seen on Sunday, Monday, and what we can look forward to tonight. And before I let you go anywhere, for anyone out there listening on the radio right now, you might be in the TFR chat room. You might not have access to the actual simulcast over at YouTube. Don't you worry about that, because I've got you covered as well. If you're in the TFR chat room, I'll be able to take screenshots along the way to show you and make sure that you're included and you can tell the kind of things we're talking about and looking at. Now, this is going to be a one-off. Usually, if it's a highly visual-orientated show, I would do it separately out with the Truth Frequency Radio realm. However, because of Andy's work commitments and because I'm so super excited, because myself and Scott and the guys have spoke about, before we go anywhere though, we've got Brian coming in from the virtual world.
My favorite show, love you guys.
And I love you right back, Robert. I love you right back, as does Scotty. And yeah, Scott, like I say, this is going to be heavy on part of the show for the visuals because he's going to be in virtual reality. And I just want to explain to the listeners out there on radio, perhaps you won't be able to see the actual simulcast. Listen, folks, it's a one-off, and I can only apologise it'll be a visual element to this show. Because of everything we've done in the past, I really wanted to do it during a TFR simulcast because you've heard me and Scott talking about virtual reality until the digital cows come home. So I thought it would be almost, it's definitely a radio first, but it's definitely something unique, Scott. Something very special that we're about to participate in, right?
Definitely. I can't really think of any other sort of broadcast that has done something like this. Um, and it definitely posed an interesting technical challenge as well to get this set up. And you know, luckily I am of a I'm technologically savvy, tech savvy, and this is the kind of stuff I have to kind of troubleshoot anyways. And of course, our guest Andy, he's very tech savvy as well. So you get two tech savvy minds coming together, and we were able to work this thing out. But once Andy gets here, I think the listeners are gonna, the listeners and the viewers are gonna be blown away. And by the way, if you're listening on TFR, and you're not going to get to see much of the visual element of this, you can always go back and watch the stream later on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the visual element of this. But Kev's going to do the best he can to drop screenshots of what we're looking at into the TFR chat. But remember though, I mean, it is archived on YouTube, and you will be able to go back and watch it. So you'll be able to see what's going on. But essentially what we figured out and what we worked out here is we're going to be broadcasting Andy's view from virtual reality into the stream. So we're going to be looking through Andy's eyes in VR in real time while we're talking to him. It's mind blowing.
And how was it, Scott? I mean, when you were watching Andy, I mean, you sent me a video, and thank you for that, of what happened when you got it all hooked up. And I mean, what was it like speaking to somebody when they were in that virtual world? Because you sounded super excited. Andy was having a blast. It was awesome seeing like what was going to happen tonight.
We were super excited from it. First of all, we were just happy that we got it working to begin with. So we were already kind of on cloud nine that we got all that worked out and figured out. But then it was actually seeing what he was seeing in the VR. I don't want to spoil too much, but there was a certain Nephilim room he went into that was pretty like, whoa.
What is that all about? And as well as the virtual reality element to things tonight, folks, especially for the radio listeners out there, Andy has got a ton of stuff to talk about. He's an AI/machine learning / robotics engineer. He's just like me and Scott. He loves his technology. He's one of the nicest, most down-to-earth guys. We were all hanging out for a good couple hours, Scott, right? And the three of us, I mean, Andy's kind of new to the mix, but yet we just gelled instantly. So I'm really looking forward to this when it kicks off. And Andy is on his way home. So this kind of inadvertently, it kind of builds the anticipation for what's to come, Scott, right?
I think this is actually better, than just jumping right into it. It does help to kind of build the anticipation. And hey, Andy lives out in Colorado, and there's a lot of snow and stuff out there, so he's got to be careful driving home and all of that. But definitely, by hour 2, we should be immersed in the virtual realm, my friend.
Full immersion into the digital
Full
realm.
Immersion.
And eventually, I can imagine some podcasts, some networks out there. Maybe, I don't know, 5 years down the road when the equipment, the kit becomes a lot cheaper, and more people have got it. Would you agree, Scott, that there'll probably be shows that take place in a virtual setting? I've seen somebody talking
I,
about one day we'll all be sitting on a nice mountainside, or in the African plains somewhere with all the animals running by. I do think eventually that's the way
so
things will go.
I'm definitely right there with you on that. I definitely think that that's going to be the future. Um, you know how we talk about, we have some of these shows where we have the quote unquote roundtables, right, with all of the different hosts and all of the, the different people kind of having like a roundtable discussion. Yeah, I can definitely see in the future that we're literally going to be having a roundtable discussion in VR where uh see all of our digital avatars just kind of sitting at a table or wherever our meeting place is in VR, and we're just going to be sitting there having discussion and talking. And um, I know that there's a lot of negatives out there about VR, and there's a lot of people say, well, this everybody's going to be going into the matrix and all of that. And yes, there is that aspect to it. There is that negative side to it, but there's a lot of positives as well. I think that this is also another avenue for like-minded individuals to get together and talk and exchange ideas. Because there's only so much I think you can do whenever you're talking to somebody, text chatting, right? Like there's like certain nuances that don't come across whenever you're sending somebody a text, right? And how many times have we experienced that, right? Where somebody sends a text message or tries to, uh, you know, tell you something and it gets misinterpreted, right? Um, because you're missing some of the body language and all of that is going along with what they're trying to say. And sometimes people take things the wrong way. I've done that before where somebody messaged me and I took what they said the wrong way because maybe I didn't get the maybe they were joking around, and you would need to see the body language, right, to see that they were joking around or whatever. And I think when you can have these discussions in VR and you have a digital avatar that may have some of those body movements or maybe facial expressions, then people can kind of have more immersive conversation, and you lose some of that misinterpretation that a lot of people have as well. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's a positive, another positive
Smiley
aspect of the
face, loving
technology.
it. I can't wait, dude. I'm like a kid waiting for Christmas here. This is gonna be brilliant. Now we've got other stuff we can fill the time with, folks. But something Andy was talking to us about the other night, and something that's very relevant to me and Scott because we've spoke about it so much in the past, is artificial intelligence. Only artificial general intelligence. You know, the Terminator type, the kind that we're all fearful of from the Hollywood movies and things. Now, Andy was talking to us about that, and he was sharing with us that as somebody that works in that industry, hands on, in the middle of it, going to places like Boston Dynamics, which he'll be able to tell us about when he comes onto the show, and other really cutting edge companies out there working on this. And adding to that, what Geordie Rose was speaking about on the Kev Baker show when he came on, we are a very, very long way away from having that artificial general intelligence that many people are very fearful of. And I try as much as I can to take away the fear by explaining that there's so many different levels of AI out there. And when it comes to machine learning and just AI, very specific AI that's tasked to do one thing, maybe the AI that listens to what me and Scott are saying right now on YouTube, and because of the delay of 30 seconds or so, you have the ability to watch what we are saying being transcribed onto the scene. That kind of AI, all it can ever do is take audio waves and then produce the words that match the pattern of that wave. That's all it will ever be able to do because it's all it's ever been trained on. It can only ever do whatever the data set that it's been provided and what it's been trained and reinforced with. It can only ever do that. If it's trained to put a round block in a round hole, it can only ever do that. It can never switch up itself and go to square blocks and square holes. It's a really crap
Yes,
way of
well,
explaining it, Scott, isn't it? But there's a big,
yeah.
big difference, right?
Yes, it can only operate within the parameters that it has been programmed to operate in.
You see,
and there's
Scott's got the
no
lingo and everything. I took a really long-winded way about explaining it. I should just handed it to you, man.
But no, I mean you're right. I mean if it's programmed to put a square block in a square hole, that's all it's ever going to do is put a square block in a square hole. You know, it's not going to do otherwise. You know, and you know, unless there's an error in the code or something that. But in general, yeah, I mean it's only going to do what it's programmed to do, and that's it. Now, it's these I think these air gapped artificial intelligences that they have with no parameters.
Now,
That
Scott, you'll
are
need
the
to maybe explain to the less tech-savvy people. I know what you mean by air-gapped, but just explain that to the audience out there who may not be as well-versed in all of this as us.
okay. So in kind of I guess you would say cybersecurity terms, an air gap means a isolated network that has no access to the internet or any other network in general, right? So they call it air gapped.
No physical connection to the outside world, just a
Yeah,
lab. Just
no,
think of a lab and nothing coming out of it. That's it, right? That's how
just
I picture it, Scott.
yeah, just a lab with its own isolated network that is not connected to anything else. It has no ability to go online anywhere else or connect to any other computers or anything like that. That's what's called an air gap. Now, these companies are developing AI systems. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we don't know for sure if they have a air gapped facility or something, but I'm pretty confident.
If
I'm
anyone
pretty
does
not I'm like,
DARPA, right? I mean, let's think. If there's going to be
yeah,
anywhere, it'll be DARPA, some military company, maybe Boeing, one of these. Yeah,
exactly.
military industrial complex.
Yeah, these military industrial complex companies, and you know who, probably Google and some of these other huge tech companies as well have facilities that are air gapped and that they're testing things on. And those are the AI systems that concern me. Not your general AI that's already out on the internet. Those are programmed with specific parameters and will never really get out of control or anything like that. But it's the air gapped ones that they're testing that have no parameters and they're just letting it learn on its own with no restraints on it. And they're just like letting it feed off of all data that they're pumping into it. Now that's a very those AI systems are the ones that are like, because if it escapes the air gap somehow, then I don't know,
Was that
isn't
you or
that
me that
the
got? Was that you or me that got a message on Skype there?
I think that was both of us.
No, that's
I don't know.
weird. That's weird. I heard a Skype noise.
That might have been me. That might have been me. So
Was it the ungapped, the unair gapped AI saying, "Hello, boys, I'm here"? No, I don't know. Is it you? We don't know.
oh, it's communications. We've got comms coming in.
Okay, okay,
So,
right, cool. That's sounding good. That's sounding good already. It's looking
so
good. We're starting to
maybe
establish a bit of comms here and there. This is the way the first 3 days in Norway went for me. I seen something. I seen something. And And then, it all goes a bit damp. Hang on, re kind of line things. And I know there's people out there that think I'm off my head for thinking that at one point I was working with these fictional, mythical things called satellites. I live in a different world where there definitely is satellites. And I know some people think they're balloons and things like that. Key bono. You know, you've got absolutely thousands of people that work on any satellite that goes into space, from the people that build the circuit boards to those that are programming it and launching it into space. And I still don't see who would benefit from this whole charade that every company that's to do with satellites go through. I'm sure if it was just balloons we were dealing with, as is the theory goes, I've no reason to see why they wouldn't just tell us that they're balloons. But that's for another show altogether. And I've already had a message along those lines today. But for the purposes of the Kev Baker show, I believe in satellites, and that's why I talk about them, right, Scott? Scott's disappeared now. He's gone into the virtual world. Has he been sucked into the virtual world?
No, I'm here. I'm
Establishing
getting,
comms, yes.
Yes, I'm establishing comms right now. So we should have connection established by the
break.
After the break. Yeah, I think we should have it ready
yes.
to rock.
Yes, I see a communication in my inbox as well. But yeah, I was just I was kind of having a laugh there about the satellites. You know how I roll when I get excited. I have a bit of a laugh. But you know, the artificial general intelligence is something that when I spoke to Geordie Rose, and I know people will say, but he was lying. And that's okay, you know, if you think that. But they had to pull the Sanctuary AI website down off the net and put it back on that crazy landing page because it is such a task. It's a huge process. In fact, whether we can currently do it with the technology we have, I'm sure Andy, when he comes onto the show, might agree in saying that perhaps we might not reach that level for a good time yet. However, with that being said, when you throw quantum computers into the mix, which there are quantum computers out there, perhaps the time frame starts to contract. Perhaps we do start to get closer to that realm where we do have that artificial general intelligence. And when we come back after the break, you know, hopefully Andy will be here with us. But before we get there, I've seen an interesting story today from a company I've spoke about often in the past, Scott. And I think it might be relevant to bring this up just quickly before we go to the break, because D-Wave are making a leap forward. And that's a deliberate pun there, because D-Wave are launching something called Leap 2, which is opening the door to in-production quantum applications. Now, Scott, to boil this down into a 1 minute soundbite before we go to the break, we're talking about more access being allowed to the quantum cloud. We're talking about more companies that will be able to utilize the quantum chips, the quantum processors, and of course, some of the problems that we haven't ever been able to crack with even the most powerful supercomputers out there now become a possibility. And one example that it gives here is that they're working with, if I find it here, hang on now. At the... Okay, I'm not gonna, I can't find the bit that it's actually about, but one example it gives is we're gonna start to see new proteins that don't exist in nature potentially being created by these quantum applications. So it's coming up with entirely new things here. And just to read that here, it says accessing D-Wave through Leap 2 helps us solve much larger problems in a fast and efficient manner. and allows us not only to design these molecules today, but also reimagine tomorrow's therapeutics. It's on about cracking stuff to do with diseases, stuff like this. So that's one thing that lies on the horizon right now. And over the event horizon after the break, we'll be dipping our toes for the very first time into the virtual world. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
True Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the.
There we go. Now we're still on YouTube right now, so I am going to play some. I'm going to play some music in the background. Okay, I'm going to play some music for the people here. Hang on now. If I just do this, I'm going to turn this up here. Scott, I'll be able to speak to you in just a moment. Don't you worry about that. Stand by. Okay, Scott, is Andy ready to add? And I know everyone can hear me saying this right now.
Yeah, we should be able to add him in.
Okay, I'll try and add him now. And I know, folks, you can hear this at home on YouTube. Bear with us here. We are about to go for it. Okay, radio check, over. Here we go. I'm going to try and add him in now. And hopefully everyone, we'll be able to... Oh, the anticipation, Scott. There he is. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, now then. Andy, without saying too much, just you start sharing your screen, brother, if you can.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Can.
Give me like.
Now remember, we're on YouTube. People can hear you right now. So.
Oh.
I know. It's because I can't mute to the stream. When I mute to the stream, it's fine, but nobody on the Skype can hear me either. So, if you try the screen share once you get ready, then hopefully, just hopefully, by the power of technology.
Just do what we did before. Just fire up the OBS, the virtual cam, and then fire up Skype. And
can you see
hopefully...
that?
Not screen sharing yet, dude.
Okay.
We can see you.
Screen share.
Okay, now we're in.
Can you see where I'm like that?
Yep.
All right, give me a minute. I'm trying to find somewhere to go.
Okay, just you keep that in mind there right now, and I'll get ready to put you into the mainstream in a moment.
I'll be quiet and I'll just I'm trying to find somewhere with a mirror. Can't.
Okay, now just you mute up a second, Andy, and we'll go back to the network, okay? We're just about to go back live to the network. So, folks, as you can see on YouTube right now, we're there. We've established the communications. I'm going to get... Now, yeah. Now, Scott, you can see that on your end, right?
Yeah, I can see Andy, but I can't see your.
Yeah, I know you can't see mine.
But that's fine. But that's fine.
If I was to screen share, it would knock everything off, I think, wouldn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
So we'll just
okay.
go.
We're going back to the network now, and I'll put your photograph in here in just a second. Okay. Stand by, folks. Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. You're tuned into the second part of today's Kev Baker Show. And I am very, very proud and immensely pleased to inform everyone that we are now joined for the very first time. I can't even get my words out here, Scott. I'm that excited. But for the first time in my mind on any show like this, we are now joined not only by Scotty Lopez, who is in very physical human form, but we also have, by the power of technology, our very first virtual guest on the show. Andy, welcome
Hey.
welcome to the show, man. Now, if you could just show us your hands and things, just for people out there, just to give us an idea of what you're seeing when you put your hands out. There, folks. This is what we're talking about, okay? And I'll take a screenshot of that for the people over at TFR so they can see it. Bada bing, bada boom. We have got virtual reality in the room. Dude, thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, he's got an Area 51 cup of tea on the well. Oh, yes, I like that. He's having a drink of tea. Absolutely fantastic, man. Thank you for joining us, Andy.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
Good.
Good. How is it, joining the show in virtual reality? I mean, this has got to be a kind of first that I've seen anyway. I know it's no different for you. It's just virtual reality for you. But, explain or tell the listeners what it feels like when you're wearing all of this equipment and you are immersed into the digital world.
Well, it's pretty awesome up until you kick something. That sucks. But everything else is rad. I mean, physically kick something while you're here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it does. Now, you got to remember, Andy, because we're on the radio as well, I'm going to have to sometimes explain to people what we're seeing and things like that. But, when you're in there, I mean, it looks like it's all moving around. Is it uncomfortable at all? Do you feel woozy? I mean, is it just like, just ordinary,
Well, I think that for all intents and purposes, I always give everyone the warning because I've talked to other people into getting all this equipment and doing all this stuff. If you have what am I trying to say here? The neurological conditions that makes you have seizures with lights.
Like epilepsy and stuff like that.
You can't do this if you have epilepsy. My wife personally, she has epilepsy, cannot do this. It is too much for her, and she started feeling pretty seisurey. So, but if you don't have epilepsy, it's very interesting. It's literally like I have a lot of hobbies, as you guys know. One of them is I go drifting. It's just racing. It's just sideways in a car, and I wear a helmet. And when I wear the helmet, it restricts my view down a good, 15% around my eyes. This is basically like wearing a helmet. It's the same thing. It blocks off certain field of vision. I don't know if you can see my hands, but it blocks off the field of vision to just right outside of a helmet. And it's, minus not having any type of haptic suit or haptic hands where you can like touch things, you kind of got to use your imagination just a little bit. Besides that, it is overwhelming the amount of sensory input you get just from wearing one of these. It's I don't know. I remember when I was like, I think I was 13 or 14 years old when I seen Nintendo had a virtual reality thing, and you had to put it on the desk and look through it, and everything was in like 2-dimensional lines that were tapered. This is not that at all. This is just like being in a cartoon.
Yeah, this is the difference, right? And I always bring that up too. Like back in the 90s when we were kids, we were promised VR with the Virtual Boy from Nintendo, and it never lived up to what everybody thought it was going to be, because of the way they hyped it up and marketed it, and it turned out to be a pretty disappointing. but with this, and I think another thing I also have to point out that, you know, for the viewers out there who are watching this too, that isn't really translating across is the depth perception, right? Because we're
Yeah.
only looking at a 2D representation of this, right? Kind of like just a 2D screenshot. But what Andy is seeing is in total 3 dimensions, right?
Mhm.
Because the VR is displaying a screen for each eye. So there's a screen for the left eye and there's a screen for the right eye, and they're at slightly different angles in order to trick your eyes into seeing actual 3-dimensional depth. So what Andy is experiencing is a lot more intense than what we're actually looking at. You know,
Yeah,
if
anywhere
we would
you
have
turn
to
the head,
actually,
Scott, I mean, anywhere you turn, it's all
Yeah.
around you, right? I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
you
like-
can't get away from
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You can just, I can look up, I can look down, I can look at my feet, I can walk. Like if I, hold on a sec, I can
So
do
Andy,
this.
when you switch that on, is this the kind of standard like lobby or entrance into the virtual world?
No, there's an infinitesimal amount of places you can go. Right now, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm looking at right now, but I think I don't know if you want me to go in here, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can-
Andy, you tell people where
show
you're
us
going.
around. Show us around.
And-
Give us
And
or,
kind of like commentate where you're going for the benefit of our radio listeners. And I know a lot of them have tuned into the actual YouTube stream now, but for maybe people driving, things like that, you tell them where
Mhm.
you're going.
So I don't know if I should go in here or to one of these other rooms.
Well, I'm liking the Nephilim
But-
because I'm liking the look of that. Joe Joseph, you'll
This-
definitely enjoy that, you know.
Is the creepiest place. So I'm 6'1" in real life, okay, and I'm in an alien's avatar. You'll have to screenshot some of this stuff and post it
Oh, I
somewhere
will.
like where people can see it. But
will, dude.
the alien is only 3 foot. I think it says it's 3'8". So right now I'm looking at a portal that is a Nephilim room, and when you go in here, you'll be inside the hands of a Nephilim, and this is why it's important that I'm like kind of give a, you know, hey, don't do this if you have epilepsy, because you won't have a good time. Like this is that much of a sensory overload. So I'll go in here.
This is really
And-
cool, Andy. Honestly, I cannot thank you nearly enough for letting us all see this. We spoke about virtual worlds and things like that for so long, and there's only so much you can do to describe it. You really are giving the audience here, maybe for the first time for some people, the very first look at somebody that's in this virtual realm. It's really, really great of you to be doing this, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Like I love this stuff. I mean, I don't really do what I'm doing right now. Like with this is kind of creepy, like nightmare fuel here. But
Now, you're in.
but I
is
meant
this
like
the
I do
is this
this
the
to
Nephilim
practice
room?
driving.
Yeah, is this
you
the
know?
Nephilim room? Is this where you
This
are?
is the Nephilim room. I'm in between 2 hands that are the size of a 12 by 12 room, if that makes sense. But probably like, I don't know, 10-foot high ceiling. But they're hands that are around me. And there's these guys, and they're looking at me and smiling and blinking, and they're, I don't know. This is you know, personally, I can tell you
Quite
beginning-
disturbing, man.
it is. And I meant like I give you my personal first experience with VR was so overwhelming that I'm not joking when I say this, Kev, and you guys, I'm not being over hyped about this. I questioned a whole lot of everything more than I ever did once I started using this to, you know, practice driving and stuff. And I started playing these games and being in here, and it makes you wonder if like this is just a small dumbed down version of the Matrix for, you know, for us, and we actually live in in this, and it's just like the same thing, but just a more HD version. Because I'm telling you right now, like, this guy's got some really, blocky hands, and I meant, like, look at where technology has come in even the past 30 years, you
Yeah.
know?
I remember
Like,
playing games on like the old Xbox, not even the old Xbox, but the Commodore 64.
yeah.
The kind of
Yeah.
chunky platform games, things like that. And like you say, in the space of a number of decades, look where we are now.
And it's just it just blows my mind. Here, I'll go find another one of these rooms with an actual mirror.
I
You
think
can
that's
see what
Tycho's
we're dealing with.
avatar. In the beginning was the one that had the mirror in it. Whenever
Oh,
we did our
there's
little test.
so there's going to be 3 people in here.
So,
Oh,
so
okay,
you
okay.
there's actually going to be other people in virtual form
Oh
in the
yeah.
room you're
Well,
going to.
I don't know if I have them turned off or not. I usually mute a lot of new people, and you can tell, like, this is in VR chat if anyone wants to know.
Yeah.
You can actually get this on your desktop, but it's totally different when you're in VR. It's 100% different.
Andy, we were saying, do you think eventually shows like this, you're going to have the audience and things when the technology's cheap enough for everyone to participate, obviously, but do you think there's going to be like talk shows and a new form of entertainment almost in the virtual realm?
I really do. I think
Yeah.
that we'll have like interactive movies and stuff like that. And yeah, I really do think that's going to be what's coming, because there's already this stuff. You can interact with all this, and this is a free game. If that tells you anything, this is all crowdsourced, and like, people come together and make these worlds. I don't know these people, so I don't really want to be annoying, but
Scott,
I'll just go say hi.
Scott, this is probably even better
Hi,
than I
people.
thought it would be. Dang, so I mean, you can see the other people standing there. Now you're putting a mirror on, so now we're gonna get a look at what you really look like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This is kind of cool. Dang.
Yeah. So
I think I might know what's coming.
wait, what now?
I was saying I think I know. I think I might know one of the reflections we might end up seeing.
Oh, do you want me to? Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
entirely up to you, sir. You do your own thing. You're in that virtual realm. I was having a bit of a laugh at the start of the show, Andy, because one of my accomplishments that I like to give myself credit for was when I went to Norway with the army and we had to test new kit via the satellite back to a ground station in the UK, and it took us 3 days to really establish it, but after that it run for near enough 3 months without any problems. It's a bit different trying to establish comms into the virtual world, though, right?
Oh,
Although
definitely.
it's going well. It's going well so far, Scott.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Well, why don't you do this? Turn my screen off for a second, and then we'll make it a surprise.
Now, yeah, I can turn it off. Yeah, 2 seconds. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, so Scott, I tell you, man, I had my fears it might not work, but I tell you what, this is working better than I actually imagined. And Scotty, I
Oh,
mean, this kind of thing for you, Scott. For people who don't understand, I mean, Scott's in a wheelchair. And does this kind of thing really appeal to you, Scott? I mean, this could open up
definitely.
avenues that, and don't think I'm being cheeky or anything, brother, okay? But I mean, this could open up things to you and people that maybe, wheelchair bound, things that maybe you could only ever have dreamt about, right?
Exactly. This is more of the positive aspects of this, right? So, there may be people out there like myself, right, that are physically unable to do some of these things, like look what hiking around the Grand Canyon, or going to some of these places where it's extremely hard for people with disabilities to go to. Well, with VR, you can go and visit these places, right? I mean, Google Earth has an entire VR sort of thing set up too. So this definitely there's a lot of positives to this to help people as well. And yeah, I mean, this is something that appeals to me greatly, right? I mean, I plan on getting an Oculus or maybe a HTC Vive or something like that sometime in the future, because it's awesome. I mean, I've always wanted to go into VR and play around with it and try it out. Like I said, it's kind of like a childhood thing. We were promised the VR back in the 90s, and just the technology wasn't there, and it was a big disappointment. So now that it's actually here, and that it's not so much of a gimmick anymore, that it's actually becoming pretty mainstream. And a lot of companies have invested in this, and you're seeing competition from many different companies, not just Oculus. You got Oculus, HTC, you got a lot of the other ones that are doing the cell phone or the mobile phone VR experience stuff. There's even different VR experiences depending on your price range, right? Like if you can afford it, then you can get the higher end VR models, and if you can't afford it, then you can get some of those lower end VR models. So the technology is definitely here, and it's not going to be going away. In fact, it's going to just keep. I think the quality and the immersion is going to keep increasing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like Andy has switched into his new avatar, Kev.
Okay. I'm liking the sound of that. Okay, so here we go. Are you ready for this, folks? Definitely a first. Here we go. Okay, you're back on the screen, Andy.
Yeah, Mason Iodine.
Oh!
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Yeah.
It turned his avatar into Alex Jones and the Frog. So you are actually now, anyone that's in that virtual room with you is looking around, and they can see Andy looking like Alex Jones, looking very like the emoji that we've got for our members that I've just posted in the chat room at YouTube. So I'm taking it, Andy, you can upload any image. You can. Do you have to have like a bitmap kind of image, or does that do it all for you? Does it just upload and away you go?
Well, I've made a few of them, and I did them in Fusion 360. But that's
As long as you have like the kind of the software development tools, to create the 3D models and all that, you can upload your own avatars in there. So I've seen like just a lot of really, just original kind of custom stuff that people have done. And
I mean, you guys have only seen some of the. So my guy yells when I talk now because he's like, "Ah." Well, anyway,
So Andy, when
I change to a one that's an actual quality avatar, you'll see the difference between this and a quality avatar. Like this is
now when you're in
this
there,
was
Andy,
for fun.
when you're in there, and say me and Scott were in there as well, okay? I mean, what do you hear in the virtual realm? What do you hear in there? Is there like lounge music? Is it just silent, or how does it come across to you audibly?
It depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
Like this room, I turned the music off. If I turned it on, you wouldn't be able to hear it because you're just hearing my mic. I don't have a transfer in, so there's not a real way to do that. But it'd be like this. This is a room. Like there's couches everywhere in here. You can literally, click one of the buttons and sit down. I mean, I can go into my settings, and I can actually. Right now, I'm standing in my my little man cave here, and if I wanted, I could pull my chair up, click the button, put myself into where I was sitting down, and just use the joystick. So, like, if Scott wanted to do this, he could do this, no problem. You could walk around in an avatar, in VR, like no problem. It's literally, it's like a couple clicks of a button. Me and Scott, we figured this out, and just so that we could show you guys this, and it's just crazy.
Well,
so I mean,
let me ask Scott. I mean, Scott, we were talking about your situation there, and I think this is absolutely tremendous. It's going to open up things to people that wouldn't have been able to do certain things before. Do you think, Scott, there's a danger, though, that some people might end up then preferring to be in that realm than back here in the real world.
I mean, there is that possibility. I mean, I think that's just kind of a given, right? But
Anything, I mean, anything people can get
with
addicted to,
anything,
right?
yes, exactly. I mean, but like I said, yeah, I was about to say. I mean, you see that with anything. I mean, you already have people that are that don't want to pull off of like RPG games, right? Like World of Warcraft and things like that. Anything that allows you to kind of live out, like your digital avatar and sort of live out a second life online. I think that possibility is there, especially for people who may not really, that may not be happy with their life in the real world. They can go into this virtual world or any other kind of. I mean, we see it with social media too.
Yeah,
Kev,
yeah, absolutely, Scott. Yeah, totally. There's that danger with everything, right?
Yeah, people kind of live out what they want their
Now,
social
is that
media
somebody
lives.
coming up to speak to you, Andy?
So what?
Is that somebody? All right, you're at the mirror again. I
No,
thought
it's me.
that was
No, no,
somebody
it's-
coming up to you.
yeah,
Yeah, I
No,
got you.
I've been blocking people so that they don't,
Yeah.
because I don't know if you'll be able to hear them, but they'll come up and start using the old knuckles there.
Oh, yes.
Do you
yeah,
know
yeah,
the
yeah.
way? That guy. And
Yeah.
I get kind of sick of it. Like, this is a quality avatar. This guy's awesome. Like, his motion dynamics, I can and like breakdance. Just
And of course, you in the room, you're obviously doing that yourself in physical
Yeah.
form, and the avatar just absolutely mimics you, right?
Yep. I meant like
Oh,
my head
dude.
movements, my arms, elbows, fingers. I meant like I can physically walk in the room like with this guy and he'll move, or I can use the joysticks and move him around really, really fast, just But I meant that's I don't know. That's just part of the playing the game, I guess. There's another thing that comes with this. There's a lot of nightmare fuel in this VR stuff because they literally make games that are so immersive that they're just super scary, and everyone's like, "Oh, that Five Nights at Freddy game, that's dumb child's game. Play it in VR." I'm a 40-year-old man, and that is scary as hell. Like there's a level of tension that you get when you're put in an immersed place. If you just let go of reality just long enough, this gets really, really scary. It's a sensory overload, like I said. It's just
I mean,
out of control.
I've played the PlayStation one very briefly. I found myself getting quite nauseous to start with, but once I was used to it, you actually kind of, I wouldn't say you forget that you're wearing the helmet and everything else, but you definitely become part of that world. You're definitely in there, right?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's hard to really put into words, but you definitely
It's also it's easier to suspend your disbelief too when you have that level of immersion, right? Because
Yeah.
we all do that. We all do that suspension of disbelief, right? Like if we're watching a movie or something like that, you got to just kind of suspend your disbelief and go with it. Well, in a VR situation, everything is 3D all around you. You're moving your head around and you're completely immersed in the environment. And then on top of that, if you suspend your disbelief a little bit, I mean that's a big genre in VR, right? Is the horror games and the
Mhm.
scary games,
Yeah.
because it takes it to another level. I mean, it's different playing a scary game on a screen to where okay, it's a
you got
scary
fright,
game.
you look
I might get
away, you can close your eyes and things. But
Yeah,
this, you're in
you
it.
could turn your head and look away, and it's on screen. But when you're immersed in the world, then it's a different sort of. It puts a whole different aspect on it, and it makes it that much more.
Now we're coming up on the break. Sorry to cut you off there, Scott. But what I'm really seeing here, and I think Andy and Scott. Well, I'm not gonna actually say probably all. I'll get their take after the break. But if this is the very early stages of VR, and we are pretty much still in the very early stages of it, folks, and everywhere we look, that world instantly renders all around us, you know? It's just instantly, like when you're in a first-person shooter, you turn left, that world, all in code, comes into life on the screen. Now we're seeing this where you literally turn your head, things you look at, they come into being. Is it just me, or does this really start to make our reality, our world that we think we're living in physically, could it be that we're in a highly advanced virtual system? Join me after the break for hour number 2, and I'll get the guys' take on that one. Ladies and gents, we are establishing communications with the virtual world, and I can tell you, it's loud, it's clear, and it looks absolutely brilliant. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Now then, we're on the break, boys. We're on the break. But I see in the YouTube chat that there's a lot of people who have concerns. They really have concerns about this technology. Andy, what would you say to these people to kind of maybe take some of the fear away, if it's at all possible? I'm not too sure. It seems to be that a lot of people think this is coming from a really bad, evil place, and it's not a good thing whatsoever. Now, what would you say to that?
I meant, like, you're kind of asking the wrong person. I'm also the guy that's making robots that
That's
take
okay.
people's
No, dude,
jobs.
but that's why I want. That's why I want your opinion, brother. You're somebody on the front line of this, and I think it's good that people get that other point of view. You know.
This is how I view it. Okay. Let's say I was in Scott's position and I was in a wheelchair. Okay, just like tomorrow, like I hadn't had time to deal with it. You know what exactly the first thing I'd want to do? I'd want to go effing walk. If I couldn't walk, if I could not get to do things that I want to do, and the only way I was able to do it would be into here, this is what I would do. That being said, I meant, like, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it. But then again, I'm usually pretty pessimistic about things, and I've been doing the VR thing for a while now, and I don't see, I meant, like, it's like that video you guys played the other day where they had the mother being reunited with the daughter.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. That could be a potential future problem that we don't even know. And I'm going to be pretty pessimistic about that. That kind of thing is going to be a problem because I miss my mom. I miss her every day. I lost her in 2002. She had a heart attack, and I didn't get to say goodbye. Okay, you got to understand, like, and the even weirder part, the synchronistic part about that is she came to say goodbye to me as I was living with her at the time when I was going to college. She came to say goodbye to me that morning. She came out to my car in her nightgown when it was 20 degrees, just as she gave me a kiss on the cheek and say goodbye and tell me I hope I have a good day. Okay? That was the last time I talked to my mom. Now, that being emotional as it is, because I even get kind of choked up thinking about it, if I could go back and experience just that moment, just one more time, I probably would. And I don't know if I could stop myself from doing it again. If I could stop myself from wanting to have those type of conversations and interactions with my mom, that is a problem.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. I mean, this is a game. This is all this is. There's nothing nefarious about this unless you come in here and take acid, and then you're screwed. Because I could see you turning into a glass of orange juice over this. I don't know if you're looking at what I'm looking at.
I'm seeing it, dude. I'm seeing it. Yeah.
This isn't even the craziest one. I just came in here to.
I was about to say that for those out there listening, the
Here we go.
room that Andy is in right now literally looks like.
Scott, I'm gonna take us back. Here we go. 2 seconds.
Okay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to hour number 2 of today's Kev Baker Show. with Scotty Lopez, and it's coming to you via the virtual world. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and anyone that is listening on the radio right now. Again, let me... We've got a new member, I think. I apologize.
Andy works for Skynet. Do not trust him. Just kidding. Great job, Andy.
Andy at Skynet. But no, I'm going to drop more images now over at tfrlive.com/chat so that people can get a glimpse of what Andy is seeing as we're talking about it. I've got Scott here with me. Before the break, guys, I was saying that watching this in its very early stages, quite rudimentary, you know, it's not, you know, 4K, 8K, seamless graphics just yet. But I'll go to you first, Scott. You know, this starts to make me think about our world. You know, are we just Sims in a simulation? You know, rendering the world as we go. Does a tree in the forest make a noise if it falls, if nobody's there to hear it? Does it even fall if anyone's not there to render it, Scott?
Exactly, and you know, Andy kind of brought this up too earlier. You know, he said it made him start kind of questioning things and and looking at things from a different kind of perspective once he started having these VR experiences. It's like, oh, well, if it's come along this far, then who's to say that our reality isn't being rendered somewhere as well? You know, and it goes back to this thing that I've said before, to where, you know, kind of a lot of these people researching this and people in this realm, you know, they said, you know, like the more we start developing virtual worlds, then the probability that we ourselves are in a virtual world increases as well, because, you know, I mean, it's almost like a fractal, right? Are we developing a virtual world within our own virtual world, and is this a continuing sort of fractal pattern that has been going on?
Now that Room of Summer Solitude, take us there, man. That looked cool.
There's a lot of people in there.
I'll
It'll
go
be a little ear rapey.
Is there any like?
Oh, I said the R word. I'm sorry.
No, the R word's okay, brother. The R word's okay. Don't you worry about that. That's okay. It's the F
I'm trying to find
bombs
you
and
a
the
place
C bombs and B bombs and things like that.
This is a place that has no one in it. These are real worlds I'm going to go to. Like, they're based off of someone's
now
home.
This will give everyone an idea of like how immersive, you know, because the other ones are, you know, kind of bright colors and crazy, you know, like,
quite trippy
but to give somebody a more realistic VR experience, this will be a very good demo that he's about to show everyone here.
Here you go.
Okay.
I meant, like, so just so you know, like, to preference where we were at, that would be like being inside a piece of blown glass that has a lot of colors in it, but you're in it, and it's also a not telescope. My brain don't think good today. Apparently.
It's like being in a kaleidoscope.
It's like literally being inside of one.
So is this a city you're in now?
Huh?
Is this a cityscape that you're in now, a real city?
Yeah, I meant, like, you can see what I'm seeing right now. It's raining. I don't know what town or what city this is, or if it's
I'm
just
not going to mention the fact you no longer have hands; you have like claws and paws.
Oh yeah. You guys, if anyone watches Dragon Ball Z, I turned into Beerus. Beerus is a gigantic cat. He looks like what's the Nubius. He looks like Nubius. I think his name is Nubius, the god of death, the Egyptian god of death, is what he kind of looks like.
Now,
Scotty, am I right on
how much? Yeah, he kind of looks like
Anubis. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Now, for everyone watching, I mean, you can see how much more realistic this room, or looks. I mean, the level of immersion, you know,
you know,
like
I'm
Andy said, it depends. It depends on who created it and what their goals are, what the aim is.
You think, Scott, when you've got these 8K cameras now, you take all the panoramic views and everything else, I imagine the difference between the AI we're seeing now, or not the AI, sorry, the virtual reality we're seeing now, to say maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line, it's going to be night and day, right? And as bandwidth and things goes up as well, then
Well, let me stop you right there.
okay, yeah.
This is very low res. There are not programs, but full games, I guess. Maybe it could be a program that are so much more higher quality visually.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I built this computer, is because I had twin 2080 cards and it was taxing the both of them to run this. That's why I don't go in there that much. But I meant this is very low res in comparison to some of the stuff. I would have to shut this thing down and actually open up this game to show you how high res this is. If you want, I can do that, but I'm not guaranteeing that it'll run.
No, just you keep it as
Skype
it is. Yeah,
and this.
yeah, exactly. The fact
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
even
yeah.
getting this
Pe-
through
y- y-
Skype, Scott, I think this is tremendous, the quality we're getting here from a screen share.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sitting down right now.
Now,
I just
think
sat
about
down.
this as well. I'm thinking in the not too distant future, right? I mean, long distance relationships, right? And I'm thinking Black Mirror
Oh.
episode here as well. You've got the Black Mirror episode where it's a bit more neural link, neural lace than it is virtual reality. You basically kind of go to sleep in the chair and you're transferred to this world where you're fighting and things like that. But, people that on the other side of the globe, maybe don't get to see each other very often, it's not going to be exactly as good as meeting in person, but it's going to be better than, say, I don't know, Skype chat or any of these chat programs you get, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, this is just kind of like, it's a double-edged sword. There's positive aspects, there's negative aspects, and that might be another one of those positive aspects, right? Long distance relationships, maybe people who have family that may be deployed, like in the military or something like that, as opposed to just a video chat. They could utilize VR and maybe like sit in the same room. Oh, there he is. There's his avatar, Beerus. But you could sit in the same room with your loved one, right? That may be across the country or somewhere, in a different part of the world, and you could sit on the same couch or, sit in the same living room and have a conversation and feel that level of immersion that if you're just doing a regular Skype video chat, there's that disconnect there. You're like, oh, well, I'm just looking at them in a little box, and talking to them. But if you were to have that full 3D kind of experience, it might feel a little more, immersive, and you could have a more in-depth kind of experience with people. So it's really, really cool, actually.
They actually already do that. They have viewing parties actually in here in VR chat. You can come in here with friends that you've like talked to on Discord and set up movies and actually watch movies with those people in VR and not have to leave your house, which is kind of already a thing with Netflix, I guess, whatever. But you get to be with people and like talk a bunch of ish about whatever movie or whoever actress, whatever, or be with your friends. I personally have a lot of friends in this game that they know who I am, because there's usually like a subtitle above my head that says my name, and people know me because of that, because I've literally logged like over 300 hours in this game just because I get bored and do this. And that was before I was a lot busier than I am now, which is this is the first time I've put this on since the other day, and before that it was about 6 months. because I'm just too busy with work. But before I got busy with work, this is what I used to do, or play my racing simulator game. And I meant like a lot of people do this to hang out with friends in VR, and they released the Oculus Quest, and that one's specifically based to hang out with friends. And I don't, there's a lot of other ones, like there's the Valve Index and the HTC Vive, and all of them, but they all can use the same programs. They're all VR based, if that makes sense.
You
I mean,
know,
how cool
there's
is that,
people
Kev?
in-
I mean, how responsive that avatar. I mean, it literally, it just has the fluid motion of if
Yeah.
you're talking to somebody, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's
mean,
really insane how far we've gotten with this.
I struggle to see. I struggle to put myself in the shoes, and it's not that I'm disagreeing with people, but I don't see the nefarious side of this from what I'm looking at. I mean, being a geek, being a techie guy, I just think this is quite cool. The only danger I can see is maybe spending too much time on it, like we've already addressed. You can spend too much time on the computer that you're listening to me on right now.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but I mean, like, I could see where people would think that you could waste your life away in here. I mean, like, I don't know, I kind of did that for a little bit, but I mean, I also, know that, you're your own worst enemy when it comes to, your solitude. If you think that this is bad because you can do something like, I don't know, jump off a building and kill yourself. Okay.
Well, you got well.
I didn't succeed.
No.
See what I'm saying? Like,
No, you get so far down, nothing to render, back to the balcony.
Yeah, and I meant, like, dude, believe me, the first few times I did that, yeah, it almost made me fall over and eat it.
Do
pretty
you feel?
hard, but
do you feel almost that kind of yip in your belly when you go over the edge of something because it starts moving? Do you get that sensation?
not anymore. And
But you
here's
did.
the thing. It's kind of been trained out of my brain now, and hopefully this makes sense. You get certain pre-sensations before you do certain things, okay? And I'll just preface this by, like, drifting, okay? Like, drifting is basically like dirt track racing, only you can go different directions. You're turning left and right. But we do it with people in tight packs and, like, get really close to each other, and sometimes we bump, but sometimes we don't. But you got to understand, if you're going 90 miles an hour and you have someone literally on your bumper right behind you, and I have a hydraulic e-brake in my car, I can just pull the e-brake and the rear wheels will lock up within a split second. And as soon as I let the e-brake go, the car is sideways already, and I was going 90, and I got to trust all these people behind me. Well, part of getting good at that is letting go of that feeling that you're going to wreck. It's the amount of chaos that that's about to ensue when you do something like that. I've spent so much time in VR, driving in VR, that now when I go out in the real world and drive my drift car, you got to understand, this isn't just some 240 Nissan. This is like a 700 horsepower RX-7 that just is ridiculous. I don't know if I showed you, Kev or Scott, but I'll have to show you guys. You'll understand what I'm saying when you see it. Like, the car, it's a race car, okay? For all intents and purposes, we just drift. But that car is so fast, within a split second, I can be going 100 miles an hour, and you could have a lot of things go wrong. And my brain has now been trained out of how that wrong think to react quicker than I need to, because I've done it in VR enough times to now I have the muscle memory and reflexes. I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
I just do it.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. It's like a training tool. Like, I got this for training. That's all I got it for. And it's made me a better driver than the people that I drive with that don't do this. And we've all been doing drifting for like 15 years. They've had
Oh,
the
I
same
can't
amount of
wait.
experience in seat time, but not in VR.
One of our callers from yesterday, Jason, he's one of my up and coming paranormal researchers that I'm really, hedging my bets on to become really, really big in that field. You've nailed it, Jason, you have. FIFA and virtual reality. Oh, I tell you, Scott, once they get FIFA and virtual reality, Kev Baker is hanging up the microphone. I'll be spending way too much time like facing up against Ronaldo and things like that, man. I get it, folks, and I know there's a lot of people concerned about this, and I'm not here to rubbish your concerns or to tell you you're wrong in any way. But you've got to understand from where I'm coming from right now, my background and tech and stuff like that. And, I find this utterly, it's enthralling. It's fantastic.
It's really cool. And look, here's the thing is, I mean, for the people out there who are really concerned about it, just think that it's absolutely evil, or whatever. The thing is that it's here. That it's not going away. So you might as well, make the best of it, right? Instead of try to focus on the positive aspects of it. And there are tons and tons of positive aspects of this too. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and just pump out a bunch of fear porn about it, because that's completely useless. You know what I mean? That's counterproductive. Let's focus on the positive aspects of it and how it can benefit people. And like we said earlier, I mean, people with disabilities, and maybe they want to go travel somewhere that they wouldn't be able to travel to just because of the physical limitations that they have. Well, this would allow them the opportunity to do that. There are so many different positive aspects to this. Like Andy just said, this is the thing that I've noticed as well. And, he brought that up where you have rally car drivers and a lot of race drivers utilizing VR. I mean, I think wasn't that your main reason for getting it, Andy, was to sort of do basically
absolutely and
race training without having to actually go out and do it. But
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is like these guys that are on F1, the F1 teams, like F1's worldwide. The guys that are in F1 use this, but they use it in an actual simulator with hydraulic rams and stuff where it can simulate forward and backward motion, side to side motion, stuff like that. And they're starting to use this. They've been using it for flight simulation for
I was going to say that, Andy, when you mentioned that the way you explained it there, I was going to say, well, hang on, this has been around in a rudimentary kind of form for a while when you're sitting in that cockpit, right? It's just screens instead of a helmet.
That's essentially what a flight simulator is you're immersed in a virtual cockpit, a virtual world, right? I mean, you're not wearing goggles, but the screen is wrapped all around the simulator, and it's the exact same thing. They're immersed in a virtual simulation. And it trains the pilots, and then they're able to react. That they just follow the same simulation protocols, or the same protocols that they do in simulation, and it translates to the real world. And like Andy said, he was able to get rid of some of those kind of negative aspects of like some of those reactions that could affect you negatively, like out on the racetrack. You can work through that through the VR, because if you do mess up in the VR and you crash or whatever, well, then you're not dead. But if you keep training and training and training, that does translate to real life, and it makes you better when you're racing in real life. So
I'm not the greatest swimmer in the world, right? Hey, it is what it is. Passed the army swimming test. That was enough I had to do. If I was meant to swim, I'd have fins and gills. I don't. But this, to me, I mean, I could go swimming, the Great Barrier Reef. I could go snorkeling. There's things that everyone could use this for that maybe potentially we couldn't do normally, Andy.
Another positive aspect. I'm sorry, but another positive aspect too that I've seen VR being utilized for is helping people cope with phobias, right? Because it allows them to face their fears without them ever being in any kind of danger, right? To begin with. And
Yeah.
and you can slowly kind of expose somebody to their phobias through the VR to the point to where once they start feeling comfortable with it in VR, then they start feeling more comfortable with it when they're exposed to these phobias in real life, right? Like so for example, fear of heights, right? Andy just did that VR room where he was looking over the balcony, right?
Dude, I can't
You could
watch movies where people are on the side of a building on a ledge. I can't watch that, Scott. I'm one of those people. I
Yeah.
physically kind of, that makes me uncomfortable. Like the people that free rock climb as well. That when
Yes.
that is
So
terrifying to me.
so you could take somebody with the fear of heights, you could load them up in that room, right, where they're not just right there on the balcony, and kind of
Whoa.
slowly. Wow, that's crazy.
I don't
Slowly,
know how I got up here.
But you did. And listen, folks, the reason we're focusing on the positives is because, like Scott said, it's here. And I'm very aware that there's a lot of people, that do not like this. And I hope you understand the reason why we're really trying to focus on some of the positive stuff that can come from this. And when it comes to training, Andy, when it comes to, like we're talking here, phobias and fears, I'm looking for the benefits, and I'm thinking of, and I'm seeing many, as opposed to the normal kind of show you hear on this. It's all bad, it's all evil. And I'm not saying that maybe one day, somebody, Dr. Evil out there isn't going to do something that is bad. But right now we live in a world with a lot of bad people. But it's here, and we still get on with it. And there's good and bad to everything. And we're in a time now, folks, where we really have to be careful about what we manifest. And what I mean by that is, the more we focus on something, the more we bring that into being. You spend your life looking for darkness or in darkness, and it's going to start affecting you in the real world. And to the point we're at now, you're going to start manifesting things. If we can turn that frown upside down, as I like to say, and get people looking at the positive aspects of something that isn't going away, then that's the reason that I've been so excited to get Andy on to do this show. Scott, do you see why, that I've been really, really keen for people to see this, despite the fact I know there's a lot of fearful people out there?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think we need to start to kind of get rid of some of the fear that a lot of people have with the technology, and like you said, try to focus on some of the positive aspects of it, or a lot of the positive aspects of it, because you're right. The more we focus on the negative, the more we end up kind of manifesting that. If you just keep thinking about the horrible night, the horrible nightmare scenario of something, then you're gonna end up bringing that into existence. And if we focus on the positive aspects of it and the ways that the technology can be used in a positive manner, then more people will actually utilize the technology in that positive way. You know what I mean?
We're almost on the break now. Andy, have you got any last thoughts on that before we go to the break?
Yeah, honestly, I'll make it quick. I think that the fear that people have of this is unfounded. And I meant, like, it's just like anything, the fear of something unknown will only increase until you've experienced it yourself,
Yeah.
I mean, some things are terrifying to people because they don't understand what those feelings are. And, like, I get it. I really do. It took me losing a lot of friends to understand that, like, you're not here for a long time, so you might as well have a good time while you're here,
Yeah.
I meant, like, that's really what a lot of this stuff comes down to, is like, we're not in control of anything. If we were, you'd feel it every day. You'd know. Well, look what the hell's going on with me. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. We're almost on the break. We're almost on the break anyway, brother. So what I'll do is I'll remind everyone that coming up after our show today, don't go anywhere because my good friend Lucky and Dr. Brooks Agnew, they're in the green room right now. Not the virtual green room. Don't panic. They're in the physical green room ready to go right now. They'll be joining us, or they'll be joining you on tfrlive.com after this show concludes. And you know, when we come back after the break, as Andy's walking around the virtual world, myself and Scott will still be talking about that. But we'll also be talking to Andy about his experience in the world of robotics, stuff like that. Don't go anywhere, folks. We will be right back with our first ever communications from the digital realm. Don't go anywhere. There we go. We're clearing on the break, and you know, I was
What do
speaking
we got
to you,
going on
Scott.
there? We got some.
There's
we
some
got some
monsters.
cryptids fight.
Is that monsters? You
Really?
can fight them.
Top of the,
I'm gonna see if I can go up there.
Well, while you're doing that, right? I mean, for people out there, you may have noticed the past couple of days or so, last week as well, I've had to really kind of limit my time. I've not been able to do our fun, safe spaces and things like that. And I've had to think about this as well. And, you know, as this show's been going on tonight, the more we're talking, I think I know what's really happened to me in recent times, because I've dived down that rabbit hole with everything that's going on over in China and looking into all of that stuff. And that takes its toll, as opposed to when I was doing 2 streams a day when we were adding in the comedy. I was looking at silly stories, and when I was doing that, it didn't seem to take so much out of me. Yet when you focus on something that is quite, you know, stressful, Scott, Andy, you know, one of these bigger stories, it takes its toll on not just me, but anyone doing that in the real world, in the physical world, away from the VR and everything. And, you know, tonight, this has been really, really refreshing. You know, it's been fun to see this. And again, I just hope people understand the reason why we've done this. It's not to laugh at anyone out there that's got any fears about it. I had hoped that hopefully by showing this and getting somebody that's working in amongst us, that, you know, we would be able to maybe take some of the rougher edges off it, guys, you know? Like Andy was saying, you know, maybe until you've actually tried it and things. And again, if you leave tonight and you still think it's entirely evil, that I'm not here to argue with that, folks. I'm really not. I'm just trying to find a way, as best we can, to deal with something that is here and isn't going away. And I can see a lot of practical stuff that I like from it. Scott, Andy, we've got a couple of minutes. Well, we've got about 1 minute now before we go back. When we go back after the break, if I may, Andy, I'll ask you about your time when you went to Boston Dynamics. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, cool. Awesome, man. And I think we're going to have to do another show with you in physical form, because I had never heard about something that you introduced me and Scotty to today. Scott had never heard of this before. Operation Wandering Soul.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, you guys, I have to come up with something for you for that, because that is the, oh God, I hate our government sometimes. Like,
Yeah, this is
dude,
I hadn't heard of
psychological
this.
operations like
Yeah.
at their max, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's bad.
Yeah, and when I was in the army, Andy, one of the camps I was at, we actually, in the barracks, we were staying with people that were actually psyops. They worked in it. They were training. We were doing the signals. We never got anywhere near their training building. It was highly secure. And you got to think, I mean, we're working with crypto, secret stuff. I didn't quite have the top secret at that point. So whatever they were working on, we never got to know. It was a need to know. And even when you were back in the barracks, it was just something you don't ask, you know. It's something you can't get into. And that you showed me today, or that's the first time I'd heard of this Wandering Soul, but that's what it made me think back to. It really is. Now, we're going to be going back on air right now, guys. Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final part of what has probably been one of the quickest shows I've ever been on. We've got Scott Lopez here, smiling away like a Cheshire cat. We've got Andy, who's now he's looking at maybe doing some zombie 10-pin bowling or something. Now, Andy, if I may, while you're playing about in the virtual realm, back in the real world, not too long ago, I was blown away, man. You told me you were, I think it was MIT, was it? Down near Boston Dynamics and things. Tell us about the
Yep.
robots, dude. What you can tell us, anything you can tell us about them. That big Atlas thing, what's that all about, man?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, it's not like it can kill you yet, so that's good.
Yeah, it's good, but I didn't like the way you threw in the yet part. But
Like I
talk to-
said, dude, 20 years, man.
Yeah.
20 years, and you might as well just get the neural lace and integrate, because otherwise, like I said, I'm pretty pessimistic. I'm good right now. It's 20 years from now. Well, I'm at 40. I'm gonna be 60, so I can retire. Kind of, maybe, hopefully. Who knows? But sorry, I'm very ADHD. I didn't take my Adderall today, so I'm a little like.
John,
Anyway,
okay, that sounds like the rest of us. It's all good.
I turned into a zombie. Anyway, well, Atlas. What can I say about Atlas? That thing is literally the making of Terminator, dude. And I'm not trying to be a fearmonger, but like
And I know you-
know
and
robotics,
Andy-
and
and
that
Andy,
thing
yeah.
is scary.
Let me just preface this by saying Andy is probably one of the people that's helped me change my perspective on a lot of the robotic stuff because he works in it and because it's given me a new look at things. So to hear you saying that, Andy, that's quite big, man.
I'm very. I don't know if you can see my-
well,
I am
you look
scared
like- you
of
look-
Atlas. Ah!
I was going
Sorry.
to say you look like the Mothman, but maybe it's the Mothman? I don't know. I'm only joking, dude. I'm only
I don't
joking.
know,
But
let's see.
this
No.
Atlas, right? This Atlas, I mean, a lot of people, we've seen the parkour that it can do and things like that. I mean, is it everything that they kind of soup it up to be?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And that's what kind of trips me out, because like I don't work with those robotics. We work with robotics that use the same technology, but I don't do that. And like the systems training with AI that I do is not that. That thing, if it, let's say, had AI, and it had more than a 30 minutes worth of battery that it could live off of, and let's just say that we pissed AI off bad enough and it had a gun, we'd be in trouble. I'm just being honest, man.
And you were
I-
telling me, and Scott, I mean, one of the limitations right now, you kind of mentioned it there. I mean, it's the actual battery life, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's something they're going to have to crack eventually. But 30 minutes on average, that's about all you get out of it, right?
Apparently.
Yeah.
That's about,
I
that's
like
about
how he
the-
says apparently there. I like that, Andy. Just, yeah, apparently.
Dude, I get tired after I run for 10 minutes. That thing can do backflips and parkour. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
know. I got to get out of this world that I'm in right now because I'm glitching out.
So
Sorry.
No, not at all, dude. Not at all. Now, before you came onto the show as well, we were talking about, and this actually does connect to the Atlas and Boston Dynamics, because we were talking about artificial general intelligence, and I was saying how when I spoke to Geordie Rose, it's a long, long way away. It's, something we don't need to worry about just yet. But your take on AGI being put into something, I mean, where do we stand right now? You work in the field. I've spoke to Geordie. What's your take on all of this? How easy is it? How hard is it? Are our fears misplaced? What do you think?
Right now they are.
Yeah.
Right now there definitely are. You should always be, cautious about things that you know nothing about. But that doesn't mean that you need to be afraid of, everything. I meant, like, some things, if you can get them explained to you, or at least look enough into it to, with someone that's not being a total pessimist, you can kind of ease your fears there. That doesn't mean that you should trust anyone. I mean, I personally have a lot of trust issues with like people I don't know. You never know if someone's being nefarious about something, just, I don't know. I mean,
What do
but with
people?
AI, I guess it comes down to like, what do you think could happen? Put yourself in that scenario, and if you could see something happening, you might manifest that thing into happening. Just saying, like, I don't know. That's just my personal belief, is that you manifest the things that haunt you. So
What do people in the industry beside you? I mean, artificial general intelligence. I mean, is that something that they're really striving to do right now? Is the tech there? I'm just going to nip to the toilet real quickly. So Scott's still with you here. I've been I thought I could wait until the end of the show, but the excitement has caught up with me, Scott. It really has, dude. And it's not going to be a virtual puddle I leave at my feet if I don't move in a minute, okay? But I'll be back in a sec, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked. We were talking about this before you came on, before the show, Andy, and like the level that AI is at right now. I'm with you. I think a lot of people's kind of fears are a little overhyped and unfounded right now. It's still in its kind of infancy, and I was telling Kev, the only kind of AI things that concern me are the ones that they're probably testing like in an air-gapped network somewhere, where there's really like no parameters on the AI and they're just like feeding it all data and it's not really restricted in any way. Those are the ones that kind of concern me. But as far as AI that's just kind of out right now, on the net, or that we can see and have access to, I don't think there's too much to fear when it comes to that, especially when it comes to anything that's programmed with a specific set of parameters. It's never going to really break out of those parameters unless something is like horribly wrong and there was like a bug in the code or something like that. But I mean, yeah, people do need to have some it's people need to have, there are concerns that people should have, obviously, with anything, but it goes back to what we said earlier. If you just constantly focus on the negative aspects of it, then you're going to end up kind of manifesting that. So you got to see the positive side of it as well. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, where I'm coming from is that I'm working with this stuff, so it's like a little different than if someone like has a totally different job. You don't know, like,
and that's why it's good to get your perspective on this, because you're hands-on with it. You're actually working with this stuff. You're actually one of these people that kind of have this hands-on perspective on this. You're in VR right now. You're working with these software systems, and you're seeing this stuff hands-on, and so I think that can kind of help put some people's minds to ease, at least to see somebody who's actually working with this stuff saying, look, there's not it's okay to question some of this stuff, but I think there's a lot of irrational fears that people have that need to be kind of, you got to kind of put those fears, put them to kind of ease those fears that people have, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. It's just, I just think it's really, really cool, and I mean, just watching this kind of blows my mind, just seeing you walk around interacting with all of these objects and, loading into different worlds. And it's cool. There's like a TV there playing.
It's like anime.
Playing some anime, and
there's a little Sonic the Hedgehog on top of the TV. I don't know what kind of anime this is. Hopefully it's nothing weird. I don't want to. No hentai for me, please.
It's too funny. It's too funny, man. But yeah, I mean, I just think we're entering this. I mean, like I said, we're here. We're here. VR is not going to be going away. You know, just by what I've seen and the level that it's reached. And like I said, I mean, this VR chat stuff. This isn't even like the pinnacle of it. You know, like you said, the poly counts and the resolutions and stuff in VR chat are actually pretty low compared to some of the other stuff that's out there, some of the more immersive stuff. And I mean, you could see how immersive,
Yeah.
you know, VR is, you know, but there's stuff out there that even blows this away. And you know, it's here, it's not going away. So,
you know, you guys, you know, I don't like, you know, try to talk about a lot of the things with me. You know, I don't like people getting personal, but like I feel like I can talk to, you know, you guys in our chat about stuff, and like I've talked to some people in there, so you guys kind of know me, you know. Personally, you know, the way I look at it, if let's just say tomorrow, let's say, you know, Elon's neural lace thing came out, and let's say that could help my dyslexia and with my ADHD and, you know, all the other stuff that's wrong with me, that like, you know, nothing's really wrong. It's just, you know, the challenges I have, I guess I should say, because I'm not a poor me type of person. I've struggled my whole life, but I made it and I'm here. You know what I mean? Like I've done a lot with my life with the challenges that I've had, and been told that I won't ever be anything more than a XYZ when I was like 10. Okay. And I've went well above and beyond what those teachers had said that I would be, because I did not listen to their narrow frame of mind. Now, that being said, I still have all those issues. If I could fix them by getting a neural lace implant, I'm gonna do it. I would do it. And if that means that like I could, you know, have that same type of thing and it'd be a VR type of thing, and I could get rid of it by using VR, and I wouldn't have to get the neural lace implant, let's just say, and just plugging into VR would, you know, take care of it, I would do that too. And it's not because I don't care about who I am, and I'm not because I'm scared of, or not scared of, you know, going to hell because Jesus said da 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 da, you know, like nothing like that. Like it's more like I dealt with a lot of things like most of you guys have, you know, and we have all these hangups, and it's just like I've just let go of my hangups. That's really what it is. I think that's why I look at things the way I do, you know?
yeah, and look, if a technology can improve somebody's quality of life, who the hell are we to tell them that they can't utilize that?
Well
Right.
said.
Exactly.
Well
Exactly.
said. Everyone's on their own journey, Scott. I hear free will all the
Yeah.
time, and who the hell are we to deny somebody that?
That's
Exactly.
all I'm saying, is just like I would never get in the way of someone bettering themselves. If I can, you know, help someone, I'm going to help them. And, you know, like if I can do something to, you know, better someone else's situation by, let me mute this dude. Goodbye.
You're out of
if
here.
yeah, get out of here. I'm having a conversation.
You see, I
Anyway,
wouldn't the real world be good if there was like some ass sat in front of you that was annoying you? Just out of here, go.
I meant like I already am kind of like that, man. I meant, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just, you know, in here it's like you kind of end up with Uganda knuckles everywhere. Anyway, all I'm saying is, you know, like the fears of this right here is nightmare fuel. What you're looking at. This is a little overwhelming for even me, okay? But I meant like I'm not scared. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have a nightmare about this again. I already had them, but but I mean, that being said, I mean, I guess I guess I don't have a way to say I stand for this or I stand for that, because I'm not judging anyone for wanting to play with VR or wanting to get a neural lace or wanting to become a Muslim if they're Christian or Christian if they're Muslim. I'm not going to judge anyone for anything, because that's not my right, and it's not anyone else's right to do the same. It's not fair to say I can't do something because of whatever.
No, you're right.
I mean,
Andy, you're perfectly right, and I really appreciate your honesty. And Scott, I know you were gonna come back in with something here as well.
No, I'm just kind of echoing what everyone's saying here, right? I mean, we don't, like I said, if it's something that benefits someone's quality of life or whatever, I mean, who are we to deny a disabled person the ability to go and say hike Mount Everest or something in VR just because we have some crazy, we think we're on some crazy moral high ground that it's somehow evil and that we need to get rid of it. You know what I mean? That's stupid. But it also comes down to personal responsibility as well. I mean, people need to be able to kind of know their limits and be able to balance going into VR and real life too. And like I said, I mean, this is just something that we see already, people not being able to balance their social media use or balance their gameplay in World of Warcraft or something like that. Everybody's gonna have, this is just another emerging technology where you're gonna have that flip side of each coin, but it all comes down to free will, and we shouldn't sit there and tell people that they can't use the technology or that the technology should be banned. Just because some people can't exhibit some self-control. You know what I mean? So
things can be fine as long as they're done within moderation. I meant, like,
exactly.
I've seen people that do coke that are normal people.
Yep. I play a lot of shooter games. Scott will be laughing because he'll know exactly what I'm on about here. I'm absolutely crap at shooter games, but at no point has it never been real enough where it's got to the point where I think, I need to step up now. I need to do this in the real world. Now, that's not to say that some psychopaths out there end up doing something like that. But again, it's a very individual thing, and I'm not here to tell people, if they don't like it, absolutely perfectly fine with that. But it's here. And somebody in the chat, it was Algro, Scott, you can reply to this. He says, to me, this is not much different than a holiday cruise. Fake reality to take a break from real reality. Nothing more.
Exactly. I mean, isn't that what a vacation is? Really? I mean, if you think about it, isn't that like if you're going to go take a vacation to the Bahamas or go on a cruise ship or whatever, you're doing something that you're escaping your normal routine of where you're not your 9-to-5 job, where you live, your daily reality. You've switched it up. You're doing something else. Now, yeah, you're physically doing it in the real world, but guess what? That cruise ship vacation isn't going to last forever. You're only in there you're only on that cruise ship for a certain amount of time, right? Whatever, a 2-week cruise ship or, whatever, however long your vacation lasts. And then boom, you're back, back to the 9 to 5, back to the grind, as they say. It's the same with VR. You're essentially just kind of taking a little vacation without actually having to physically leave anywhere, which is kind of cool. But I think where we start kind of walking the fine line is like Andy said, with that stuff where people are like reunited with their past loved, like their kids that have died and things like that. And I mean, me personally, I would not do that. That's not
That'd
something
be traumatic. I think
Well,
that'd be entirely
yeah,
traumatic, Scott.
I think that's like re-traumatizing yourself. But even then, I'm still gonna have to say, if somebody chooses to do that, then who am I to tell them no? Um, I might not agree with it, but I'm not gonna deny that person. If they feel that it might help them in some way, then then that's their choice. Even though I personally feel that that would just be detrimental to somebody to keep kind of re-traumatizing yourself in that way. But it's going to be interesting. It's a frontier that we're going to just have to see play out. I don't think we really fully have a grasp on the ramifications that all of this is going to have, and it could be extremely positive or it could be negative.
I
But
imagine, Scott, when the television came out, the idea of moving images in your home, there would have been some people freaking out. It's the end of the world. What's this alien
yeah.
technology all about, you know?
That was the thing I always grew up with, right? Like people saying, "Oh, you're that the television's going to turn your brain to mush and that you're sitting in front of the TV like a zombie." You know what I mean? And
Well, you've turned out all
people
right,
do
Scott.
that.
Listen, trust me, you've turned out pretty damn good from what I can see, man.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, with every new emerging technology, I think people focus on the negative aspects of it, and there are negative aspects. I'm not going to sit here and act like there aren't any negative aspects, but there are positive aspects as well. I mean, like the television, right? I mean, okay, yeah, you did have you have a segment of the population that sits there and just watches TV like zombies, and then they just kind of repeat everything that's told to them on TV. Yeah, that's an extremely negative aspect, but not everybody is like that. Not everybody who watches TV becomes a zombie. So, it is what it is.
Well, if I may, I've got a couple of minutes left, but Andy, I watched a TED Talk, as I know you have, about the gentleman who claims to have been in VR for a week. Now, you've been in VR with us for 90 minutes right now. What do you make of that guy? I mean, do you think that's doable? Living a whole week in virtual reality to begin with?
I actually do. Now, do I think it's a good idea? No, man, you're gonna smell so bad when you're done. Oh my god. Yeah, take a shower, dude. You can't take a shower with this thing on. I meant like, there's one thing that I don't think a lot of people are. Oh man, I'm in a strip club right now. Sorry. There's one thing that I don't think people are seeing. Uh-oh.
Just don't go for the private dance, or I might have to take it off the screen, that's for sure.
I don't know what I did. I must have.
Fine. That's probably favorited
I must
in
have,
your.
I must
I'm
have
only
bought a
joking,
lap
man.
dance. I don't know what's going
No,
on.
but do you
Anyway,
think then,
what I was gonna say is that
how long could you do it? How long could you think you could do this before you would need to take a break?
I usually when I used to drive constantly, like practice doing drifting in VR. I could typically spend anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 hours in here without needing to get up. My butt will be asleep, but I meant
No different than playing FIFA for me then.
yeah. Oh, there
Yeah.
I go. Now I'm out. Okay, I need to get out of here. My wife's gonna catch me. Oh no, I've been into another one. Okay. Well, the reason why I was going to say something about
we're almost
this
out of
is
time,
because,
dude. Just so you know, we've only got a couple of minutes, so we're almost there. I don't want you to get cut off.
oh, I was going to say this would be a good place to practice training yourself out of having less social anxiety, and that's a problem with today's people because we do spend so much time on the computer that you could literally use the computer to train yourself out of having a social anxiety disorder.
Very good point. Very good point. Very, very good point.
I'm telling you right now, I used to have one interacting with people in here. I'm not saying this helped all of it. I think a lot of it was mainly just opening up and being who I am now today maybe helped. But meeting people in here takes away the aspects of having to talk to someone in person. You get to be comfortable. You can be whatever you want in here. You could even be a furry. I don't think that's a good idea, but you could do that if that's your thing. Or you could be someone's waifu in here. I mean, like I've seen people with full body trackers like pretending to hook up in here, which was very disturbing. But I seen it, so I know it happens, and I'm not the only person that's seen it. So I know that if someone was to look this up, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, the degeneracy."
But yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
But I'm just saying, like, it's something that people can do. They can come in here, meet each other, and get rid of the social anxiety hangups they have, if they have them, and they can do it over the net, and then maybe
Well,
take that outside into the real world.
There
I
you
really
go.
do think that could help.
What a brilliant way to finish. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today, but it doesn't stop here on TFR. No way. We hand over to Lucky and Dr. Brooks Agnew. From me, Scott, and Digital Andy, wherever you are, make it TFR. And Denny, touch that VR headset. Only joking, folks. Only joking. We're still on YouTube right now. Andy, I want to really thank you for doing this for me, brother. I really do. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I know it's not been everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's probably been important that we've all sat down, we've all had a look at it. For some people, it was the first look. Some people might think differently about it now. But I thoroughly enjoyed this, Andy, and I want to thank you personally because, like I said during the show, it's good to speak to people from different backgrounds. For a long time, I focused on the technology from a very Christian kind of standpoint, working with Anthony Patch, and that's no criticism of Anthony Patch. However, to get a fuller perspective, you need to look at things from different angles. You need to go to different people and see what they think about it. You're a guy that works with this stuff. My point being, again, I just want to thank you for doing this for us, for the audience, and I hope it's given people something to think about. Again, I'm very, very reluctant to say it, and I'll never tell people how they should think about anything. But I just hope that this has been beneficial, even if you've still got the same mindset out there, folks. That's cool with me, Scott, and Andy, because the three of us definitely are people that think we're all on our own journey, and we're not here to tell others what's right and what's wrong, and what's for you is for you. And I respect every single person's attitude towards it, whatever it may be, so long as you treat me and Andy and Scott with the equal respect. We're all on our own journeys. Free will is a big, big thing. And again, oh, look at this. This is like
It's a TR3B.
nice. I can imagine
Sorry.
No Man's Sky in virtual reality would be phenomenal. But again, Scott,
I'm very distracting. I'm sorry.
no,
dude.
dude, I love it. This is the way me, Scott, Joe, Popeye, it's the way we roll. We're not anything special. We're ordinary people having a conversation. Some people might say, well, you got no ambition, Kev. The show's never going to go anywhere the way you guys roll.
Speaking of which,
That's okay.
I think I found an avatar for not Joe, Popeye.
What have you found from? Have you actually got Popeye?
I think I do. I think I found him the other day, and I was
I think Popeye secretly watches the Kev Baker show. I think he and Tina are probably sitting watching this right now. He's probably shaking his head, laughing, going, Kev, your subscriber count is going down like a ski slope
There.
right now.
I found him. Oh man, hold on. I'll just.
That's okay, dude. We're off them
There.
TFR now, so. Brilliant. Oh, is that a little gnome?
It is.
Oh, Mannerus in the chat will love that.
He's an angry gnome out there spreading the truth.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. Really, Scott. What do you think, man? I mean, we've been excited about this, haven't we?
Oh, this was really good, and like I said, I kind of hope we've got rid of some of the fears that people have about this stuff, and showed that there is there are positive aspects to it, and it doesn't mean that we should just completely like uh not have any concerns, because there are concerns that are to be had. But on the flip side, I mean, you could see that a lot of this is just really harmless, and it's just fun. And like I said, if it does benefit people in some way, then who are we to say that or they can't use it? And this technology is still in its infancy. We're going to have to see how this all plays out, but it's not going away, and we're just going to have to oh my god, look at that note.
I am Popeye. Listen to me. You're all stupid.
You're all stupid.
Just do what I say, okay? All right. There. Next time, you'll listen to what I have to say, because I'm Popeye.
I'm going to put that on my soundboard for when he's on at the weekend.
Zombie floating guy. Okay.
Oh, a zombie floating guy. No, but folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Now, tomorrow, we're going to shift gears entirely. We've been taking a look at tomorrow. We've basically been taking a look at the future tech that's here now, and it's only going to get better. But tomorrow, we're going to be going back to the kind of stuff that Julian was really eloquently talking about yesterday. I don't know about you people out there, but yesterday's show, there's not very often I just sit back and I'll let the guests talk. But I was thoroughly interested in what Julian had to say yesterday about where we come from, And tomorrow we're going to get an alternative hypothesis that includes not out of Africa, but a forgotten exodus before that, from Australia. So we're going to have Jess from Australia back on tomorrow with Bruce Fenton. And I really do think, what a week of radio this has been. I might have taken Monday off, and I know we're not on radio anymore, but we're on the YouTube now. But these shows this week, I can only thank Julian. I can only thank Andy for tonight. And tomorrow I'll take time out to thank Jess and Bruce as well, because I know tomorrow is going to be another highlight for the Kev Baker Show. I hope, despite your fears and your concerns, that you've still been able to enjoy the show. I hope you understand why we've been so excited to do this and our intentions of doing it. Not to mock anyone who has any fears of this. We're highly respectful of that. We just maybe have a different view of things, but that's okay. Because in a world of 7.5 billion people, or so we're told, we're going to have different opinions. But it's not letting those differences divide us. There's far bigger problems in the world that we need to face, and that are real and present dangers right now. And I just hope, Scott, I hope it's back to we provide, let the people decide. And who are we to tell people that their fears may be, misplaced or anything else? Everyone's going to have their own point of view. I just hope we've given people something to think about, man.
Exactly right. And I mean, I can see both sides of the argument as well. But that's the main thing, is that we need to be able to talk about both sides of the argument, and both sides of the argument are the positive and negative. And I think we kind of need to focus on some of the positive stuff too, because the negative stuff is what seems to be getting all the attention, right? I mean, it's very easy to just take a topic like this and go full, just take it to its absolute like worst case scenario. And I don't think we need to be doing that.
Scott, I spent a good amount of time, too much of my life, physically worrying about the D-Wave computer until I spoke to Geordie Rose. Now today I'm sharing links from D-Wave, quite excited about what I'm seeing. Again, it's that shift in your perspective, looking at things from a different point of view, speaking to the people at the heart of what's going on. And I think that helps build a bigger picture. It doesn't mean I'm going to change your mind. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to
No.
offer you little bits and pieces along the way, Scott, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, if you're out there and you still feel that this is, you know, evil or that this is totally wrong or whatever, I mean, that's your right to have that.
We're not here to argue with them, Scott. I mean, we
we're
respect that.
we're not here to argue with you because we know that side of the argument as well. I mean, we've looked into that. We're just trying to provide a different perspective, and hopefully, you know, it's all about looking at things from a different perspective and a different view of it. And you know, maybe that might change some people's mind. Maybe that might alleviate some of the fears that they have, and that's all we're trying to do, people. That's all we're trying to do.
Andy, I'll give you the last couple of words, my man. Again, thank you for today, but your final thoughts to the audience out there.
You know, I think that, you know, until your fears have been founded in reality, don't be so quick to judge. I'm sure that let's just say if Jesus was here today, I'm not Christian, I'm just saying, but I can relate. But if Jesus was here today, he would all call us dumbasses for a multitude of reasons, and they'd probably be pretty founded reasons, because we are all on the net right now, not doing what he wanted. If that's what you want to go and, you know, think, and, you know, don't judge others, you know, like I personally, you know, feel like I've been judged a lot in my life until I became the man that I am today. And now it's pretty hard for people to, you know, lay judgment on me because I'm a stand-up individual as far as I know. And, you know, I don't do that to anyone unless they give me a reason to. And then I'm probably talk a lot of ish, but, you know, do unto others as you do to them, you know, like I don't want to ever be the type of person that would, you know, judge someone because I'd been bullied and judged my whole life. So I meant that, and, you know, don't be afraid unless you're on fire. Then be afraid, you know.
That's a good way of looking at it, dude. A really good way. And listen, folks, again, I want to thank you all so much for being here. We had two super chats today. I'm going to replay them before we go. I want to give a special thanks to everyone for being here, and to Robert and to Lich for the following super chats. Here's your messages coming one more time from our digital assistant, Brian, the AI.
My favorite show, love you guys.
Thank you, Robert. And now I'm going to, for the first time, I'm not going to hit the button twice. It's only going to play Lich's once. Here we go, Lich. Thank you.
Andy works for Skynet, do not trust him. Just kidding. Great job, Andy.
Now, for people out there who are wondering, well, how come we get Dancing Kev on one of the super chats, but then that one's different? If you look in the description below, there's another way to do announcements on the stream, and it comes from STREAMLABS. Now, it's just exactly the same as what you would do here on YouTube, only the difference is you cut out my handlers and the middleman, and it goes straight to where you want it. And you get that different little message there, the different noise, but you still get that shout out during the stream. And with that said, I'll be back tomorrow. I hope we've given you lots to think about. I don't in any way expect to change anyone's opinion. Maybe we have, though. Maybe we have. And man, that looks like me in my, like, see how, like, Joseph is convinced I'm like a leprechaun, even though leprechauns are from Ireland. He has, and of course, last night, Julian was pointing out the fact that, well, Kev, genetically, there's probably a link to Ireland since, like, Scottish people came from there. Don't tell him that, Scott, right? Don't tell him that, but but that's probably what one of my ancestors looked like. That's the last word for today. And in fact, no, it's not, because let me do my usual way of playing us out. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.
How dare you?